All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for making it out today. We're going to start tonight's meeting. Commissioner Douglas won't be attending tonight, and Commissioner Perush will be here hopefully in about 10 to 15 minutes. She was snarled in traffic potentially. She's coming from the west side of town, so she's driving as fast and legally as she can to come here. So. But with that, we will begin our meeting. So we're going to call the March 19th, 2018 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to start with an invocation given by myself, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. As we gather here tonight, we are fortunate to call Royal Oak our home and serve our fellow citizens. May each of us govern from our values and vision, while representing the collective and best interests of our residents. May each of us have the courage and determination to employ good policy over good politics and never lose sight of our purpose. We offer thanks to our hardworking women and men serving our city, both in uniform and not. We ask for their safety and health. We also ask for our children, students, and teachers return home safe and sound each day. Royal Oak is an amazing place, and we are eternally grateful for our community and all of our neighbors. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She's lightning fast, ladies and gentlemen.
The speed of light. All the way from Nova.
Okay. That brings us to item number 4 on the agenda, Proclamation designating April as Autism Awareness Month. And we have a proclamation here we'd like to read. I know we have representatives from the Judson Center here tonight. We have Ms. Gross, Ms. Jones, Ms. Kinnear, and Ms. Broche. You guys want to accept the proclamation? I'll read it right here. We'll stand together. Royal Oak is standing with Autism and standing with the Judson Center this year. Some pretty exciting things to come. I don't want to steal too much thunder, so I'll read the proclamation here from our fair city. Proclamation designating April 2018 as Autism Awareness Month in Royal Oak. Whereas autism is a pervasive developmental disorder affecting the social, communication, and behavioral skill of those affected by it. And whereas, as more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed on the autism spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 68 children nationally and over 50,000 individuals in Michigan alone. And whereas while there are no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment earlier in their lives, it often is possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health and safety and to support families' resilience as they manage the psychological and financial burdens autism presents. And whereas, to raise awareness, the Judson Center spearheaded a campaign to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about autism, providing blue light bulbs to property owners to show their support. And whereas in 2017, the City of Royal Oak partnered with the Judson Center in their efforts and lit the city buildings and became a distribution center for blue light bulbs. And whereas, this year the partnership is continuing and expanding with more city buildings being lit, a banner hung on Main Street, and the highlight will be on April 2nd when the switch is flipped and trees along 5th Avenue from Center Street to Washington Avenue light up with blue for the month of April. Bring Pound Autism to light. Now therefore, be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission, in partnership with the Judson Center, proclaim April 2018 as National Autism Awareness Month in the City of Royal Oak, and urge all employees, residents, and members of the business community to bring autism to light and raise awareness during National Autism Awareness Month. Here's your proclamation. Thank you so much for all the work you do at the Judson Center. We're very proud to have the Judson Center in Royal Oak.
Thank you so very much, Mayor Fournier, City Commissioners, and the entire City of Royal Oak. We are so happy to have you as our partners and bring autism to light. And we hope that everybody joins us on April 2nd at 6 p.m. on 5th Avenue for our special tree lighting ceremony to bring autism to light. We're going to have refreshments and we'll be handing out blue light bulbs for everybody so that you can place them in your porch lights and help support autism throughout the entire month of April. Thank you so very much. We're truly honored.
You're welcome. Let's give a hand for the Judson. As a sad Spartan, this will be the one time that I'm happy that we'll light the city of Royal Oak blue in April. All right, this brings us to item number 5, public comment. Just a few rules I'll read before we commence. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on city-related issues, both on the agenda and not. I ask that comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. In addition to public comment, the City Commission invites public input on our consideration for the application for a land and water conservation grant. You can wait till that agenda item is discussed, and we'll bring you up similar as a public hearing, and you can provide your input at that time if you're here to talk about agenda item number 8. If you wish to speak tonight at either public comment or at the public hearings, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor, then come up to the podium. We ask for the record that you state your name and address. Be mindful that we want to hear from as many people as possible or whoever wishes to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 5 minutes or less, and we have a handy timer there at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, that's all right. Many of you email us, reach out to us via other mediums, and we're always grateful for your input. Please note that the City Commission won't respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes and will address those questions when the topic is discussed or refer it to the proper city department if the matter isn't scheduled for discussion or on the agenda tonight. And our city manager is here. He's taking notes, and he does a pretty good job. Okay, with that, all the rules out of the way. Who's first tonight? Is that Mr. Halleck I see over there? Okay, yeah, you, sir. Thank you.
Commissioners, city staff, my name is Tom Halleck. I live at 210 North Center. This is in regards to item G, 221 North Main Street. During the Planning Commission, as the mayor and Commissioner Perush are aware of, an agreement was made by the builder that they would maintain snow removal down the alley because they're putting 24 garage doors out the back. That item did not make it into this. It's not in here. And it went in front of you for approval. And it's a non-material to the construction of the building, so it's something that could be added without compromising the second reading. But it's something that needs to be codified because otherwise somebody's sooner or later is going to go, we're not doing that. And you'll have 24 cars trying to charge out through the snow backwards towards our garages and fences. So since they agreed to it at the Planning Commission, it needs to be codified in there. Secondly, while it's not part of the item G directly, when they're doing their construction, they need to be aware they cannot squat in the alley out there for weeks on end. It's not like Center Street over by the post office. There are a lot of residents there that have to have access to their parking out back. There is no other way to get to it. So they can't just occupy the alley and sit there. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Halleck. All right, who's next this evening? Yes, sir.
My name is Alan Ashley. I live at 606 South Williams, apartment 602, otherwise known as Royal Oak Manor. I am questioning, since the police department's here and they're the ones that kind of decide on where vendors park, I want to insist that when you have Arts, Beats, and Eats and the flower show coming on Mother's Day, that you put the vendors on the west side of Main Street. Not only that, it's closer to the vendors for their kiosks up and down Washington and in the large parking lot. And that way, we can still have our parking close to our building instead of parking beyond, we have to park between, beyond Knowles, which is like 2.5, 3 blocks from our place. And some of us seniors, even though we drive, we're not that stable walking, and there's uneven pavement. Plus, we get dirty looks from the neighbors that don't appreciate us parking where they would be parking their cars. So I wish that the police department, when they decide where the vendors go, put them on the west side, closest to the event, instead of parking them around our place, and then we have to pick up the beer bottles and the vomit and water down the grass because of urine and all other stuff that's around our place that the city does not see. Second, on February 12th, you set up a commission for seniors. I would like to know, you people have my email address. What is going on with that? I've seen nothing. I've heard nothing. It sounds like the commission is Sergeant Schultz. So what's going on with that commission? Just a little reminder that we are still angry about the seniors at Royal Oak Manor, that we park across the street in the large parking lot where all the vents are hold, that the parking has gone from 25 to 45. That's an expense that's very difficult for us. We live on a limited budget where our salaries don't go up all the time. My last 2% increase on my Social Security was $10. $10 for a year. When you get a raise, I'm sure you get more than $10. That's what most of us seniors got for our raise, 2%. So if you're living in a company and they gave you a 2% raise, would you be happy for a year? That is what we get, $10, a total of $120 a year. I'm sure that if you got $120 a year in your paycheck extra, you would not be happy. Well, that's what us seniors are. We only got 2%. You people don't think. Just a reminder, this came out last week. I heard on the news that in the year 2025, all the baby boomers will be 65 and older. That means there's more of us than people under 65. So something for you people to think that this task force that you put up for aging is coming faster than you expect. And we've heard nothing out of this commission on where it stands, what it stands. I still would like to have this commission vote in 3 additional members from the village, from Barton Towers, and from Royal Oak Manor. This, again, I keep saying every meeting, this will give you a better perspective on the senior needs, along with the 3 people you pick from the city of Royal Oak. That is really needed, and I think it would enhance the committee and make it a better task force. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ashley. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Brenda Rose. I live at 606 South Williams at Royal Oak Manor. I really don't understand how you guys could raise the parking so much. You went from 25 to 45. That's a lot of increase. And us, like he was saying, us seniors do not get that. And I also think about the poor restaurant people who work there. They don't make a lot of money, and you're making them pay $45. It's just ridiculous. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Who else is here? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Martha Wright. I live at 606 South Williams, apartment 520. And I'm a fairly new resident. I moved in December. And one of the appeals to living at that apartment, at that, at that complex, was the fact that it was very affordable. And here, lo and behold, I'm in just a couple of months, and now they're going to raise the parking for us. And as the others told you, that we're all senior citizens, most of us are on a very limited income, and that will really prevent a very difficult hardship for us. So I'm asking you to rescind that and to go back to allow senior citizens to pay the original $25. Thank you.
That's right. Mr. Wolf, you have your hand up?
Ron Wolf, 333 North Troy Street. First, let me attack the Royal Oak thing. I remember a week or so, a couple of months ago, you were complaining that the state wanted to inflict this the responsibility of defending indigent criminals, indigent people accused of crime, and that they wanted the city to pick that up, and you said you thought that was pretty bad. Well, imagine what these seniors feel like at Royal Oak Manor, that it's happening to them. And let me tell you, when you get to be older and you watch things that you once valued and appreciated taken away from you because your money isn't worth as much as it used to be, you're losing support, friends of yours are passing away left and right. And one of the things you hold dear to is your transportation in your car. And in my own mother, who was victimized by Alzheimer's, it was horrible to have to take her car away. She kept on having accidents that she claimed were not her fault, and small accidents, little fender benders, but it had to be done. And that's part of life. That's something you can't change. But here's something you can change. A lot of these seniors, you forget, were just 20 or 30 years ago in your place. And believe me, 20, 30, 40 years goes by like nothing after you're 30. You must notice that by now. And how would you like to be in their place? Life in play is sometimes not fair. And you have the opportunity to help these people. I can't understand why you cannot issue them a parking permit like you do with people on side streets to prevent, people that go from the bars going into a park in their area. I think you could allot about a dozen spaces or so. You can find it in your heart to allot about a dozen spaces for permit parking only in front of Royal Oak Manor. It wouldn't kill you. I mean, it wouldn't hurt anything. And, things have a way of settling out. But to attack people that are totally defenseless, not to attack, but to take away from people that already have so much taken away from them, it's just not fair, okay? I mean, you've all seen bullies before. Bullies take advantage of weak people. Please don't act as bullies in this case. Give the seniors at Royal Oak Manor a break. Many of them are veterans, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers who worked so hard to put their kids through school, and now they deserve a little bit better. And it's up to this community that to have the same attitude they had when they allowed these senior buildings to be built, to carry it on and to give them some parking in this growing town. So I'm just begging you to please go with that. The other thing is the tagging incident. I want to give kudos to the Royal Oak Police and people that took care of the tagging incident. I have a feeling it's a local young man, because it's been done year after year, and I thought first it was isolated just because of St. Patrick's Day. No, it's been done on the same electrical box. This time they also included a bench in Barton Park. Any of you kids out there know who's doing this, get the word out to them, and I would suggest that you have a special fine allotted for people who deface property in Royal Oak and make it so ridiculously high that they won't ever think of doing it again. The other quick, I only have 1 minute left. I came up with an idea about transportation. I spoke to a Mr. Good at the zoo, and he gave me a name, but I haven't gotten a return call. I believe a circular route of maybe 2 or 3, hopefully green electric buses going to the zoo, around circular from Maine and Washington, would benefit both the zoo and Royal Oak. I've always wondered since I came here why Royal Oak didn't have closer ties with the zoo. It brings in about 2 million people a year. And what about bringing some of those people that visit the zoo down to the city to take advantage of our many restaurants and amenities? And of course, they're already parked at the zoo, so you don't have to worry about parking. And some kind of an agreement with the zoo, I think, would be a good idea. Just as something to think about. Don't look at the source of the idea. I don't care whether you do it or not. But it's just something that occurred to me because ever since I moved here.
Mr. Wolf, I'm going to need you
Okay,
to finish.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Yes, ma'am.
I moved here a little over a year ago, but I've lived in this area, was born in Detroit and what have you.
Ma'am, can we have your name and address for the record?
Sure.
Thank
My
you
name
so
is
much.
Connie Peel, P-E-E-L, also from the co-op 606, okay, in apartment 510. Okay, and ever since, I remember seeing the pink building for years. I'd come to Royal Oak and I'd see, there's the pink building, and somebody said, where's the pink building? I said, I'm never moving there. It's a pink building. It's got to look like whatever. Well, 80 years later, guess what? I'm here. But the bottom line is I have great compassion. I'm a psychologist by nature. Anybody needs help, you want a Band-Aid, you want a whatever, Connie will find it for you. But the bottom line is I'm watching these seniors every day, and it's terrible. Trying to cross that street and cars are I'll get you. I mean, we shouldn't even have to hassle that. And the joke is, really, and I'm ashamed of it because I'm from here. I've taken my yoga here and meditation here and all kinds of classes here. And they make fun and say that the only money that Royal Oak can make is by parking tickets. What a hell of a, way to get a reputation. But if nothing else, they say, watch the people and see how they treat their elders that went to work every day, worked hard, got to the point for whatever reason, they can't do it. I gave my money away, but I can't go back and get it. Somebody needed it, I gave it. Can't we start to share a little bit? I mean, start with our seniors, we wouldn't take it from a mother or father beating their kid up. Please think about it. See what your brains, you've got all these wonderful brains. Think of something unique and different that the seniors feel wonderful. They're on their way out. We just lost one today and 2 more in the hospital. Let's give them a good send-off. Guess what? I kept thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we could do a walk over that road, over Maine? But I understand that, over the road, and I'm thinking because the railroad track is there and all this other stuff. But you guys got the creative brains running and going. I'm going to pray that you guys and ladies can find something. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peel. Who's next? Cowan?
Good evening, Dennis Cowan, 38505 Woodward with Plunka Cooney. First of all, I did wake up Friday from our EPIC meeting on Monday, but I'm still in sleep-deprived recovery. I did just want to, in response to Mr. Halleck, because this matters on the consent agenda, first, we did commit to that maintenance issue with the alleyway, and we will stand by that. I really believe it's a maintenance issue and not an issue that you need in the PUD. We did find out subsequently, having traveled through the alley many times, somebody is plowing that already. We don't know who it is. We think it's the church. And we'll certainly coordinate with them or just do it ourselves so our residents can get out of the garages. We're certainly not going to leave them high and dry if there's snow in the alleyway. And also, we have to come back to you for 2 licenses for our canopy and for the Sidewalk Cafe. So certainly we can address that at that time if you would like. Secondly, with respect to any usage of the alley during the construction period, we would have to follow all city ordinances, and we certainly, if we needed to use that for any extended period of time, would need to coordinate with the building department and planning in order to get the appropriate approvals to use that. So we'll definitely, from having talked to the contractor, there may be some time when we need access through that alley for the construction, but we would work that out as everyone does in the city of Royal Oak. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Mick McGuire, and at 4456 Arlington. Yeah, well, I'm just here in support, and my neighbors support the initiative to repave Greenfield. It's probably been 30 years, and they've been fixing the potholes. They've been doing a pretty good job, but it's time, okay? So I just wanted to, I hope you'll support that to repave Greenfield Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. I see a hand in the far back center, back row. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Aaron of Troy. I'm an amateur web developer. I'm working on a website, a community platform for local residents for the Troy Trail developments. That's at troytrails.community. But I wasn't going to show up here today, and I saw your agenda, and I saw your goals for 2018, and on the bottom, number 7, goal number 7 is to have bike lanes developed on the north and south routes in Royal Oak here. I want to tell you that I love those sharrows. Those sharrows are cool on Main Street. They've made my bicycling experience a little better. I don't get so many honks and hollers from cars or even people walking. I want to say that I'm here in support for that sort of development in Royal Oak for the north-south routes. Those are important routes. Those are the routes I take to get to where I'm going, Ferndale, Detroit, stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to doing things a little differently. And I'm here on behalf of our age group, and hopefully we can make the millennials strong, healthy, more informed, so they can make good decisions, more informed decisions, and so they can make themselves and their communities healthy and vibrant. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I see a hand back. Is that Mr. Colo?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, Brandon Colo, 600 East Hudson Avenue. I'm here tonight to give the annual report for the library. But before I do that, I just want to say a quick thing about the seniors we have in the audience today. Mr. Ashley's been here, I think, 4 times now, talking about his needs, and I think he's right. We kind of do need to get moving on the appointments committee to appoint the senior task force. These are exactly the reasons why you established that. So it's great that we're moving in the right direction. I'm excited to see when you guys can take the next steps on that. So now as a library trustee, like I said, I'm here for the annual report. We have to deliver it yearly. Last year, we had about 370,000 visitors come to the library. That's an increase of about 7%. So as a community resource, we're really happy with what we can provide. Speaking of itself, we could provide, we eliminated charges on a lot of items. The millage is, even though it's staying the same, we're increasing our funding every year. Thanks to coming out of the recession, we've been able to add more full-time employees, eliminate charges on DVDs, which has been huge for a lot of our patrons. We've expanded our physical collection. A library is about books, right? We've increased spending on books. And to a lot of people, this is exciting. We've expanded our online offerings to over 600,000 titles. So we've been working hard for the people of Royal Oak this year. Our programs and activities had an increase of 21% in participation. Once again, another huge increase. That included summer reading, where we had more kids come out this year and read than ever before. Our concert series was incredibly successful, and our day-to-day helping. We offer senior help programs, tax help. There's a lot of stuff that we offer, so we're happy to provide those. And then, of course, the biggest service we offered and added was Sunday hours. I've talked about a lot up here. We're extremely proud of Sunday hours for the first time ever in library history. So thank you to the community for helping us support that. I need to thank our community partners, the Kiwanis Club, our credit union, Royal Oak Schools, the Environmental Advisory Board, the Farmers Market, and the Commission for the Arts. They all helped us in various programs this year. The Commission for the Arts is currently still doing their what do they call it, warmth knitting. I'm actually knitting a scarf that I've been working on for about 3 months now. It's about that long. I hope to have it done by summer or winter 2020, so we'll see how that goes. And then I'll wrap up by once again thanking the Friends of the Royal Oak Public Library. They provide funding for all our programming. This last week they had their most recent book sale. They raised about $7,500 through their used book sale. Unnumbered hours of volunteers went into that. I mean, they were there all hours from Thursday to Sunday, making sure that the books were set up, sold, and were helping people. So thank you to all the Friends. Once again, that funds all the programming, all the children coloring, the concert series, everything we do for seniors is through the Friends. And over the weekend, we had an increase, about 700 more people come out. So thank you to the citizens, and thank you to Royal Oak for everything. So with that, I'll take any questions if you have them.
Do you have any questions about the library for Mr. Colo?
Or comments. You guys can talk about the library good all you want. Looking at you, Commissioner Macy.
Love the library.
Yeah. Okay.
The sale was great. I was there buying books for my nephews. They loved all of them, so
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad that you guys continue to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for all the work the trustees put in. As a former library board member, it is a very active board. There's a lot of responsibilities, and there's work to do. You guys just don't sit back and make decisions, but you are the biggest advocates for the library, and I know my kids benefit from it. Everyone else's kids up here benefit from it, and you know, the whole community benefits from the work you do. We got an amazing library, great staff, great board, and we got great friends of the library too, so.
We do.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Colo. Yes, sir.
I'm Reverend Preston Boyd. I'm the pastor of Chapel AME Church in Royal Oak, Michigan. I was appointed in August. I came here really to observe. We're trying to get more involved in the community. But one thing that I feel pressed to do at this point is your citizens who are complaining about the increase on parking, I would add my voice to theirs and ask you to reconsider that. When you open this meeting, we all pledged allegiance to that flag, one nation under God. And since you broached that, I feel obligated to remind us that under God, we care for each other. We care for the poor. We care for the oppressed. And we speak out against that. I don't even know those people. I don't even know where that is. But I did hear their pain. And you did too. That difference doesn't mean a lot to you. It doesn't mean a lot to me. But it means a lot to your citizens here. So I would urge you to support them and look at getting it back to $25 for them some kind of way. I can't imagine what in my life if $15 or $20 meant something. But I do understand what they're saying. They don't get a lot of increase from Social Security. So you all look like nice people. And I would just ask you to hear the voice of your citizens and try to do something for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Boyd. Who's next? All right, going once, going twice. All right, we're closing public comment. We're going to bring the meeting back up to here, which brings us to item number 6, approval of agenda. Commissioner Dubak.
Shoot, I can't remember what we learned in our rules of order. Do I make an amendment to consent now, or when we're on consent?
No, when we get to consent, we can pull any item off when we get to consent.
We should do it then.
Yes.
All right.
But I would ask, we did get a memo from our city attorney today.
So with the addition of discussion on the scheduled hearing regarding Lockhart's liquor license, I'll move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Dubak. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Any discussion? Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. We have an agenda. This brings us to item number 7, the consent agenda. Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd actually like to remove item G regarding rezoning of 221 North Main Street.
Okay. We have a, is that a motion, Commissioner?
I'll move to approve the rest of the items on the consent agenda.
With the item number G being pulled off to be discussed separately.
Correct.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Macy. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, this brings us to item number G from the consent agenda, which is Planning Commission recommendation on rezoning of 221 North Main Street, second reading. Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we got to a good place on this last week. I just thought it was deserving of a slight update, given the amount of conversation and public feedback we received at our last meeting. It is my understanding that the 2 items that were discussed have been added into the PUD, one being that upon request of the city, some sort of mechanism limiting the hours of the rooftop terrace could be enacted if the city deems that necessary. Again, I highly doubt that'll be necessary, but it's there if we need it. And then the second item was ensuring that lifts are available to residents of 2-bedroom apartments who request them. I'm just looking for confirmation that that is indeed in this new PUD agreement.
Does anybody know?
I mean, my understanding is that it is, but is there?
Mr. Gillum is finding the language, I believe, at the moment. And I'm trying to as well. So we can cite the paragraph.
3A, 3B?
3A and 3B?
I believe so, that's my recollection.
Okay, section 1. 2.
I see 43 vehicle lifts.
I know that we had seen proposed language from Mr. Cowan. I guess the only question, I'm trying to see if the language was actually inserted in the document that's been posted or not.
I'm also seeing item B, the developer agrees that in the event of substantive complaints concerning the community roof terrace on the 5th floor, the city and developer will create and enforce remedial measures to address said substantive complaints, including restriction of hours by use of residents and guests. And I think that gets exactly to what we were speaking about last week.
Bottom of page 3, top of page 4, yes.
Yes, there were emails between myself and Mr. Hedges to that effect, and him and Mr. Thwing agreed with that language, and it was inserted in the copy that you have.
Yep.
In 3.5 A and B.
Excellent, thank you.
43 is an A.
Yep. Okay, I think that addresses all the majority of the concerns. We have traffic things that we have to deal on our end in due time, but I think this is a good fit for the space. Like we discussed last week, I'll move for approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dubak, supported by Commissioner Perush. Discussion? Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations, gentlemen. Good luck. Okay, this brings us to number 8 on the agenda, which is the Land and Water Conservation Fund Public Input and Grant Application. And I'm going to hand this over to our graduate intern, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Watkins, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Tavon Watkins. I am the Graduate Management Fellow. I'm here to speak about the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The Land and Water Conservation Fund provides a 50% matching grant to states and local governments for public and recreation facilities. We will be requesting $300,000 to help cover the cost for a splash pad and picnic pavilion as part of Phase 1 for the new Normandy Oaks Park. Tonight will serve as public input for the requirement of the grant. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Watkins? Commissioner Macy.
So is the pavilion normally included in this type of a grant? Because I saw that like it's more normally splash pads and bathrooms, but I just wondered about the pavilion being somewhat different than that. Is that a problem?
No. Under the rules, it says that anything that's related to that, since it's adjacent to it, is required, fits into it.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Watkins? Commissioner Perush.
What is the source of state funds for this grant program? I know that there are other grants out there. There's other natural resources grants that are available, which are the oil and gas fees that go to the state. What is the source of funds for these grants?
It comes from the Department of Natural Resources.
Okay.
The source of it's federally funded.
Oh, okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Watkins, my understanding is that we have to have, similar to a public hearing, we have to do a public input session?
Yes.
And that's one of the requirements to complete the application, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any more questions for Mr. Watkins? Okay, well then we'll open up the public input session. Is anyone here to speak tonight on our application for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application? Mr. Wolf.
Ron Wolf, 333 North Troy. I'm glad you're here today because I feel I've been banging my head against a wall regarding my wish to bring back water to Royal Oak. We have streets called Red Run. I don't know if many of you know that Red Run is a river that's now hidden under pipes and everything. And actually, people used to fish in Royal Oak. You know, the only remnant that we have of the water is this little pond off a 12-mile, and only I think frogs and turtles survive because the fish will wash down the drain a long time ago during a storm. And I'm looking at Normandy, and I noticed the retention basin could make a magnificent pond with proper aeration that would provide a fishing opportunity for children, and even fly casters like myself would like to practice our fly casting. It would be the only water attraction in Royal Oak. I'm also wondering if this grant also applies to hiking paths. That 40 acres, we could use a lot more in the way of hiking paths and off-the-road type of paths that go into wooded areas and natural plantings and things like that. If the city could bring back Normandy Oaks Task Force and make further plans to beautify the Normandy Oaks Park so it could be a beautiful area to walk through. The idea of paving paths doesn't exactly attract me. I lived in West Bloomfield, and I remembered the beautiful job they did with the ex-railroad tracks. They also did a wonderful job in Payne Creek. It's very natural. People can ride bikes and jog, and I'd also would like to see signs pointing out the flora and fauna in the area and how many miles you have walked to encourage physical fitness and things like that. So I would like to see things like that added to the grant. Do you think it would benefit the city to bring back the Normandy Oaks Task Force and further explore what we can bring to what could be the most unique park Royal Oak has or will have? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Anyone else here to provide input on this agenda item? Okay, we'll close the input session and bring the meeting back up here. And I'd also like to apologize to Mr. Watkins. I called him a graduate city intern, but he's a management fellow. Privately, I'm in the process of hiring and looking at interns, so that's on my mind. Okay, do we have any other discussion questions? Commissioner Perush?
No other questions. I would just move approval of the resolution.
We have a motion by Commissioner Perush, supported by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion? All right, I'll just add thank you, Mr. Watkins, for your help. Really appreciate it. And we'll cross our fingers, but we know the application's going to be solid, so thank you. All right, with no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. All right, get that application out. All right, that brings us to item number 9, approval of professional services contract for Royal Oak Civic Center Public Relations. Mr. Fenton.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Commission. We are rapidly approaching a potential groundbreaking for the Royal Oak Civic Center project within the next 60 days, both with regard to the office building, the parking deck, and eventually the police station. We have been discussing with the Commission during the strategic goals and planning session the need to bring help onto this project in order to make it a success. We understand that a major goal of this Commission is to limit the effects, the negative effects of the construction period. To that end, we have sought the services of a public relations firm to assist the city with getting the message out. We issued an RFP for these services on February 2nd, and we stressed 3 different goals for this firm. 1, to maintain attendance at downtown businesses, 2, to minimize traffic congestion, and 3, to improve resident understanding and satisfaction of the project during its construction. We received 6 proposals in response. We put together a team consisting of myself, our communication engagement specialist, Judy Davids, Sean Kamer, the DDA's downtown manager, Shelley Kemp, the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and Shelley Mazer, our farmers market manager, to evaluate these proposals. We narrowed it down to 3 firms that we interviewed, and tonight we are unanimously recommending Franco Communications as the public relations firm to assist us during the Civic Center project. Franco has more than 50 years of experience leading communication programs for both DDAs and destinations. They've currently been working on the GM Rensen rebranding project. They've worked with downtown Milford for the past 12 years, and their references were exemplary from Milford. They've also got extensive experience with the Detroit Regional Chamber and the Downtown Detroit Partnership on projects that have taken place in downtown areas. They also helped craft the winning pitch to bring the Super Bowl to Detroit, working under Roger Penske in the Detroit Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau. We do have members of Franco here that are here to introduce themselves. We're going to get into how they're going to work through this project once they're actually brought on board. I don't know if Judy Davids, who was key during the interview process, has any additional words to say about them, but we were impressed both with their enthusiasm, their approach to the project, that many of their key personnel are living in Royal Oak, are on the ground daily, and we're very excited and enthusiastic about the project.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Fenton? Mr. Gibbs.
What is the anticipated time that we will be employing Franco?
If Franco is affirmatively brought on board today, I've got a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock scheduled with them tomorrow.
Okay, maybe I didn't phrase that correctly. 6 months, a year?
A year.
Year and a half? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Fenton? Anyone from Franco want to come up and talk to us? We don't want to put you on the spot at all, but if you're willing, able, and brave enough.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Robbins Sabrin. I'm a director at Franco. I've been with the firm on and off since 2007. It's my second time there, so it's a fantastic company. We've been around since 1964, and me and the two other team members that are going to be working on this project all live in the Royal Oak area. I'm over on Dewey Street, and this is my home, so I'm personally invested in this project, and we're very excited about it. And you know, this is a really fun opportunity for us to do something that directly affects us. I personally have worked on our CBRE team, which is the tenant management group for the GM Renaissance Center, and we recently went through probably about a 2-year renovation, and we still have some other renovation projects going on. If you haven't been down there, they just opened the new GM World Center, which was the reconstruction of the showroom. So we had a lot of areas closed off over the past year and a half, and we were responsible for communicating all of those changes to the building, and that was reaching out to a lot of different stakeholder groups. We have a lot of different tenants, and then visitors. We have about 14,000 people that are come through the building every day, and so communicating to all those different groups was a challenge, but we learned a lot, and it was kind of exciting to get this proposal because you get to directly benefit from all of the things that we just learned on that project. And I can see even just from this meeting, you have a lot of people concerned about parking, and that is something that we definitely are taking very seriously, and we did address in our proposal, and are excited to, you know, be on the ground and talk to the different groups about how the parking is going to affect them, and make sure that we can communicate that and make sure that the process is as easy as possible for everybody.
We have any questions for Ms. Robin-Staben? Yes, Commissioner Perush.
Just following up on the point that you just made about communication of various aspects, and parking is just one.
Absolutely.
There will be others like street closures and how do I get to here, and you know, I can't get to the post office, whatever. What are your primary means for communicating to key stakeholders, or perhaps there's a range of things that you use? I'm sure there is. Can you just give us some examples?
Yeah, well, I think the way we had kind of structured our proposal was in phases, and the first phase was really to gather information, identify the different audiences and groups, and the RFP had a lot of that already broken down for us, but really making sure that we're spending the first part of, you know, as soon as we start, which hopefully is tomorrow, going through and meeting with the different groups, getting their concerns. Some of it we were thinking possibly through surveys, some of it meeting with people individually. We have a lot of really good luck doing those kinds of things because you get to hear people's concerns and can address them. And then I think just making sure that we're listening, that's really important, and making sure to communicate consistently. So, you know, we're not saying one thing and everybody else here is saying something else, and then there's a lot of confusion. We want to make sure that everybody is hearing the same message about where they're going to go, what they're going to do, and getting feedback from all different places. You know, I'm aware that not everybody is going to get their information from social media or from this meeting or from the Royal Oak publication. So trying to hit a number of different communications tools consistently and with that same messaging, I think will be really important.
I have a follow-up question. The city of Ferndale is undertaking a project that's a lot smaller than ours, but it's on 9 Mile Road, which is one of their main arteries, and they've also hired a firm similar to yours to manage these same issues. And I know that one of the techniques that they are going to use is actually establishing a dedicated website where people can go for up-to-date information on the project once it gets started. I don't think they've broken ground yet, but they're kind of in that preliminary stage as well, just like we are, making sure that all the communication tools are out there. Is that those, I'm assuming those electronic internet-related concepts are also in the bundle of things that you're going to be using in order to facilitate communication?
Yeah, we actually recommended that, and that's something that we're going to be talking about tomorrow when we meet, is talking about how we're going to do that, if that goes into the regular website, if we set up something separate, and what that web address will be, and who's going to work on that. But we suggested doing a dedicated landing page for the project, as well as an e-newsletter, was just some of the initial things, as well as utilizing Nextdoor. I know a lot of people in the city are on that. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty much checking for every lost dog every day to see if they've been found. But there's a lot of different tools to use, but those were certainly in our proposal.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner
Commissioner Lavasser.
My understanding is that your firm's fee would be $75,000, but that there would be some additional costs for expenses that you incur. Are you able to give us some perspective on what those other costs would be, how much and what areas they would cover?
So I think what we had put together was the $75,000, and then we have taken 6% of that as a contingency if the retailers in the Royal Oak area fall below a certain monetary gains amount. We're going to determine that in the initial phase. So we could put that aside for people if we needed to do some more communications and getting people to go to those establishments. So that was part of it. And then from my understanding, you can do a lot of printing in-house. So I think the only real expenses would be for printed materials, parking guides, if there's anything that can't be done in-house, any kind of signage. Those were the kinds of expenses that we were thinking about. But I'm not, just coming on, I'm not as familiar with what services they can do in-house. So hopefully we can do everything and print everything here, but if not, we might have to look outside.
Okay, with regard to, say, and I saw that you're looking to get a storefront in our downtown area. Is that an expense that would be paid for by Franco, or is that something that would be on top of an additional?
That might be on top. That was just one idea. We'd really have to sit down and talk about the feasibility of how that would work, where that would go, what the cost would be. That was just one idea, but it's not something that is, if we aren't able to do that, or if we have to do a modified version of that, we're open to that.
Okay, cost to boost on social media, is that an extra cost, and do you have a budget for that?
Yeah, that would be separate. I think I put that in my paperwork. Can I? Do you guys mind?
Yeah, sure.
That? Okay.
Sure.
I think we recommended $1,000 a month for social media ads that we would be able to use on different channels. So if that's something that we determine once we meet that we want to do and we want to focus on, then that would probably be the minimum that we recommend to get started with. And then we can work on determining a strategy as to what's going to be most effective, what channels are in most need of that. And during what times. I imagine that there's going to be times that we're going to really need to do more communication than other times, especially when the parking initially is removed. That's going to be really high communication time. And then there's going to be other times where there's not a lot of things going on that, we may not want to do as much, just depending on what's happening with the project.
Any other questions for Ms. Robin Sabourin? Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very excited to have the opportunity of having homegrown local talent here to support us with the project, so.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Fenton? So we have a proposed resolution. Commissioner Perush.
I'll move approval of the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion.
I'll raise my hand.
Okay, Commissioner Lavasser.
This seems to be a very fine firm, but I can't help but come to the conclusion that we could use that $75,000 plus for better purposes to serve the taxpayers, the residents of our city. So on that basis, I can't support the resolution.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Dubak?
Sure. I'd say since the outset of this project and a great number of other issues, one of the bits of feedback we've heard from residents is they want clear, consistent communication. That's not even so much what we're doing, but they want to know how we're doing it, when we're doing it, and why. This investment is a response to demand from residents, giving residents exactly what they want, especially when we're doing something that's going to impact businesses and people's daily lives for the coming year to 18 months. So I don't know what a better use of public dollars is than to do exactly what the public wants and the way they want, when they want. So I'm happy to support the contract.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Gibbs?
And I'm presuming that Franco will be more than willing if there's hiccups in the distribution of information on social media, on Nextdoor, wherever it may be, that they're going to be working consistently with the city or with us, for example, because we hear the complaints. But you're going to be willing to, and reaching out to all of us and anybody who reaches out to you.
All right, I'll allow an exception. We have a motion on the table, but
No, yes, that definitely is something we want to work with the city and with the different groups of people on. One of the ideas that we had in there was creating a group of city ambassadors and making sure that they are armed with all of the most important information and keeping a site maybe through Dropbox or through a login page where people could go and get the most up-to-date information. So where you would be able to go before this meeting and get all of the information to see what was going on, and then making sure that everybody has all of those talking points, because part of that would be, consistent communication. So we want to make sure that everybody has that easily available to them.
Okay, thank you.
any other discussion? Commissioner Lavasser?
Communication with our residents is an important task, important thing for us to take into consideration here. But we have staff, we have a full-time public engagement specialist on staff, and this would seem to be an appropriate thing for her to undertake. I just can't see spending an additional $75,000 plus in this fashion.
I mean, I'll just add that, this is a major undertaking, both for the city, for our residents, and for every other stakeholder in this community. And first, I just want to say, I think our community engagement specialist, Judy Davids, does an amazing job. She is everywhere, doing everything, communicating to people on countless issues and a number of different things that go on in the city, because the city isn't the Civic Center project. The city has so much more going on, and there's so many things that affect our daily lives that Ms. Davids does that, has improved the quality of life for everybody. But this is a temporary, large undertaking, and this is why we need the support of a professional firm, just in the simple sense that the economic impact of communicating better, not just for our businesses, but for our residents and our patrons that come to downtown. I mean, the economic impact's going to be clear. At the end of the project, we all see the gains. We all know what this project's going to bring to our community. But during that time of transition, we want to make sure that we make it as convenient as possible. And like Commissioner Dubuck said, communication is something that on this project has been mandated by our residents, and we agree. And so at least we'll see how the vote goes here tonight. Really looking forward to this, really appreciate if this vote goes yes for your help. And again, like I said, I'm excited to have a vested local lead here in Royal Oak, making sure we do a superior job communicating to everybody. So anyone that's been in a business knows that this is key. So we're running the city a little different now. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Robin Saborin. That's a hard name. That's almost a tongue twister for me. I'm trying. I'm really working on it.
By the end of the year, you'll have it.
Yeah. A lot of tongue twisters tonight. Okay, that brings us to item number 10. Request for approval of Downtown Royal Oak LLC Development Agreement. I believe that's Mr. Fenton again. There he is, and Ms. Matthews here as well. All right. Thank you again. We've been working with Burton Katzman for the development agreement. We'll refer to them as Downtown Royal Oak LLC on a project to take place at 600 South Main. To reiterate, this project did receive site plan approval from the Planning Commission in July of 2017. The proposed $30 million development consists primarily of 19,000 square feet of first-floor retail, 77,000 square feet of Class A office, and 428 spaces, parking spaces, of which at least 155 will be transient parking for use by the public 24/7. And those spaces replace the spaces that are already in that lot. The project itself will be designed to lead standards for core and shell labor will be at prevailing wage. That's anticipated between 300 and 350 full-time employees will work in the building once it's completed, and over 500 tradespeople will work on site over the construction life of the project. Additional transaction terms in this development agreement. The developer is looking to purchase the property for $1.12 million. They have a due diligence period of 270 days and closing within 30 days following the expiration of that period. Construction is set to take place within 60 days after closing, but not before January 1st of 2019. So this cannot be a project that would go in 2018. And there are several condition precedents to closing, all submissions being approved by city departments, a construction schedule and staging plans approved by the city, and of course, all approvals, licenses, and permits necessary for construction shall be ready to issue. I do have Brandy Matthey, our outside counsel, who was our point person in negotiating a lot of this development agreement, to walk through any questions you may have with regard to it. We also have Larry Goss and John Pavoni from the development team that are also here to answer any questions you may have with regard to this proposed development. All right, well, let's start with Mr. Fenton and Ms. Matthey. Any questions? Okay. Commissioner LeVasseur?
Ms. Matthey, I know you sent an email a little bit earlier, was specifically with regard to the parking for Royal Oak Manor, and I think it referenced some proposed language, but I'm afraid I didn't quite see the language, and if you could just tell us a little bit about
that. So if you'll recall, the terms of the development agreement obligate the developer to replace the existing 155 public parking spaces. It was our desire as the city, and one of the directives when I negotiated the terms of that agreement, to ensure that of those 155 spaces, we did not end up with a vast majority of those spaces being permitted parking for monthly permits, and that was designed to continue to provide for transient parking in and out, rather than having people parked there on a prolonged basis. So the idea was that the developer would be limited in the number of permits that they would be able to sell relative to that, to 50 parking spaces. We also spoke with the developer about giving priority to the seniors who currently have their parking spaces in that lot, and the developer has agreed to provide that priority to them. We did not put in a specific provision within the development agreement that told them how they must administer it, and that was because it created its own complications relative to the developer saying to somebody, for example, there's no mechanism for the developer to be able to say to somebody new coming in, hey, you can get a parking spot over here, or a mechanism on the other side of it to say, the person who comes in during the month and say, well, no, you can't actually buy a permit because we may have somebody from this other place that might want one. So they're going to have to administer it much like the city currently does, and we felt that that was the appropriate way to manage the process.
Okay. Mr. Goss, Mr. Pavoni?
Evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. As you mentioned, my colleague John Pavoni here and myself, very happy to be here tonight to hopefully wrap this up. As it relates to the senior conversation that's been going on this evening, heartfelt messages from those hopefully will get approved tonight. If we do, we wanted to offer to, when we take possession of the lot, to roll back the price to the $25 that they were paying before, and to freeze that for the next 10 years. So we would just take that upon ourselves as a good faith neighborly thing to do. We understand that the city may not have control of that, but when we do, that's what we'd like to do. At any rate, we are here to answer any questions that you might have. We've been working on this together for a long, long time. Hopefully, all the questions have been answered, but we're here in case there are any more.
We have any questions? Commissioner Dubak.
Yeah, it's been a long road for us as we've fine-tuned this project. I know one of the things I had said earlier on was that we're looking for really exemplary projects and building for the city. And I'd mentioned green building. Can you speak a little bit to that, please?
We can, and it was incorporated into the last version, the last verbiage, to make sure that that was incorporated properly. So we are building to LEED standards. We did provide Mr. Fenton with some specifics so that we could try and give you some key items. Talk to our architects about how we would, in scoring with LEED, what are the items that would come into play. Again, we actually provided that in an email, but to reiterate it, high efficiency plumbing fixtures, less reliance on potable water for irrigation, enhanced commissioning of the MEP building systems to ensure high performance, highly efficient envelope, building envelope including insulation and glazing system, highly efficient HVAC systems with targeted improvement over the already stringent Michigan State Energy Code, targeted approach to storage and collection of recyclables in the building operation, division of recyclable construction waste from landfills, specification of materials that are durable, regional, and have a lower impact on the environment, enhanced indoor air quality through strategies such as demand-controlled ventilation, designing for occupant comfort, daylight, and views, innovative design strategies such as designing for active occupants, green building education, et cetera, and tenant guidelines for best practices in the tenant improvement scope, including efficient lighting and controls of technology. So those were the bullet points that they asked that I share with you to give you at least a sense of some of the items that we'll be doing to achieve that LEED design.
That's a good list. Thank you.
Not
for
bad,
that.
yeah.
I'm glad you were able to follow through on that. Trying to make it a priority for us to be an example of a green city, and that's exactly the kind of standards that we want to see folks building to. So thank you for that.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank you for the concession for our seniors at Royal
Our
Oak Manor.
pleasure.
I think that's a very nice gesture, and it's going to be greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gibbs.
With all of these environmental pros in your development, are we doing anything with solar? Are we doing anything along those lines?
Well, we haven't incorporated solar per se into the design of the building, but to achieve the LEED design, we'll be looking at all of the energy efficient opportunities that we have.
I just didn't hear it on your laundry list, so that's why.
Right. We haven't got the final list of things that we're doing, but all of those will be taken into consideration.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions? Mr. Pavone from Mr. Goss. Okay, I'd just like to thank you guys. I know it's been a long and arduous process. And, I appreciate you stepping up to the table and, not meeting the demands of this commission, but the demands of our community and supporting our vision of where we want to be with your project. So I think that's a strong and hopeful testament to, where your building's going to be if it's approved tonight. So.
And we appreciate your patience in the process as well.
Thank you. All right, we'll bring the discussion back up to here. Commissioner Perush.
I'll move approval of the resolution getting this started, just to get discussion started on this.
We have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubak. Okay, discussion. Commissioner Perush.
I just think it's important for the public to understand that this project is not going to start right away. This project, they won't see construction or anything close to construction on this project until after the first of the year, next year, 2019. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, we still have Arts, Beats, and Eats this year that is going to take place on one of those parcels. And secondly, there's going to be an awful lot of construction starting downtown very soon. And we did not want to have another major construction project starting at the south end of downtown at Sixth and Seventh Streets, starting at the same time or close to the same time. We thought the downtown project is gonna drive everybody crazy enough. We didn't want to put them over the edge by starting another one that close to the downtown area. So the developer was extraordinarily patient with us in understanding that, and we really appreciate the fact that they're willing to make that concession, that even though this agreement is going to be in place, they're not actually going to start any building or work on the site until at least January of 2019. So I just want them to understand that we're very appreciative of that because it's going to mean a lot to us to be able to kind of juggle these projects. As if there isn't enough going on, there's going to be this, but it's all going to be good in the end. It's going to be wonderful stuff, but the thought of having it all going on at one time was just a little bit too much. So I just want to make sure the public understands when they see this being vacant for a while, it's not because it fell through or things are going south or there's problems. It's because it's definitely delayed on purpose so that it doesn't interfere with some of the initial construction up here at this part of town. And that's my only comment. I'm glad this is going to get going.
Very good point, Commissioner Perush. Commissioner Dubat?
Thank you, Mayor. One question actually just came to mind, City Manager, I assume can answer. Is part of our agreement, given that this doesn't break ground until January 2019, do we continue running the parking system there, or will the petitioner continue running the parking system there?
No, until there's actually a land transfer, we will continue running everything in that lot as is.
Okay.
And in fact, until they close, there are a
Still
lot of
ours anyway.
contingencies to reach there, it will continue to be run as a Royal Oak parking system.
Okay. And ideally, before we break ground on that lot, our new deck at the Civic Center site should be up and running.
We're on a timeline right now, hopefully that we'll have a groundbreaking for that deck in June.
Okay, I know that's something we had a lot of conversation about, was a little heartburn over taking too many lots offline at one time, but that new deck, it is our plan to have it open to the public before anything happens to this surface lot.
I'm not sure that the deck will be completely open.
That's
to
the plan.
public, but yes, that is the plan.
Okay, so, yeah, this developer, it's been, 2.5 years we've been talking about this. And we've said, parking neutral, first floor retail, we want, high standard green building, no public subsidies, and they have been willing to work with us at every turn, and even within our complex timeframe. So, I mean, given that, and given the quality of development this it was designed to be, it appears to be a good fit for that space. They have brought everything that we asked. So I don't know how it could be a better proposal.
Commissioner Gibbs.
Mr. Fenton mentioned that the parking would not transfer until the deal closes. When would you anticipate that happening?
Well, they have 270 days to conduct their diligence.
Okay,
So, nowhere before that. And that was put into the agreement on purpose to push this project out into 2019. I think ideally, we would be looking at closing in January of 2019.
I just wanted to confirm that for people who are concerned about the parking, that you said closing of the deal, and if we're approving this tonight, then people might take that as. So, thank you.
Commissioner Lavasser.
I would have preferred to see a lot more information in our packet, both for the commission as well as for the public to review before we move forward on this. Specifically, what I don't see in the packet is information that talks about the economic impact for the community, the potential financial impact for the city itself. I don't see a parking study. I don't see traffic study. Traffic study particularly important because this is right next to the railroad track, and there certainly could be some issues there. I've saw forth a lot of information from staff, but that's something that really should be part of the packet. We have an offer from this developer to buy for $1.12 million. I believe that's low, and the packet should contain a recent appraisal for the property. For us truly to look at it, to understand the financial impact, we need to look at the lost parking revenue. what the tax benefit will be for us. My understanding is that essentially of the taxes that are going to be generated by this project for the first 10 years plus, 80% of that's going to go back to the developer. 20% will be retained by the DDA, and none of it will go toward public safety, toward roads to the general fund. And I just don't believe that this packet is complete without the various information that I just referenced.
Any other discussion? I'll just add that, I've been sort of hot and cold on this project, mostly due to timing, but I'm glad that we were able to work with the petitioners in the end. Like Commissioner Dubuck said, I don't want to repeat his list, but, we sought out a while back to diversify our downtown and make sure we didn't become solely dependent on bars and restaurants. We sought office space, we sought retail space, we sought things that the entire community can benefit from. This is a great opportunity. We have first floor retail. I can tell you I don't need a calculator to understand what the economic impact of that's going to be, but it's going to be pretty good. We're going to have hundreds of office workers in this building. We're going to have, a great use of what today is basically an asphalt lot. So I'm excited if this goes through because it meets not only the vision of what we're trying to do on the south end of town, but it also, comes with the other tangential objectives we have as far as being environmentally sensitive, with it being a green building, addressing our parking situation, even addressing it with Royal Oak Manor and helping solve that issue. So I'm excited to support this project. I will say I look forward to the delayed start of this project. Normally we say good luck, can't wait for you to start. In this particular case, it's one of those odd circumstances. So it really, like I said, addresses everything. And I think, the information we have is completely adequate. We've gone through planning, we've had lots of drawings, we've had lots of iterations. And in the end, we've improved things up here with a lot less information. This idea of traffic studies every time you do a project is not, really what most cities do. We do a traffic study, on a regular basis. Our engineering department is looking at things. It's not a binary system. We have lots of things going on at any given time, and we take a check and, we make adjustments as we move down. So, again, I think it meets a lot of the things on our list, and like I said, I've been hot and cold, mostly because of the timing, but I think we're, at least with me, I'm warmed up a little bit, so I'll be supporting it. All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
You see the hands of the nay? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Good luck, gentlemen. Thank you. Although you picked a really great town to invest in, so I'll just temper the luck part of that. Okay, this brings us to item number 11, the adoption of the 2018-19 fiscal year strategic plan.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. On February 26th, the City Commission was presented a draft of the 2018-19 fiscal year strategic plan. Direction at the time was to provide some revisions and refinement of the document. We are presenting to you that refined document. So I will be happy to answer any questions or any comments.
That was a very good summary.
Didn't feel the need to rehash what we went through it the last time.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Crizzen? Commissioner Macy.
So one question I had was, we have in here, although now I can't find it, is the schedule a work session. This is goal 4, action strategy 1. Schedule a work session with members of the City Commission to consider the revision of the master plan and zoning ordinance. And the measure is to schedule it by spring 2018, but isn't this the 2018-2019 plan that doesn't take place start till June 2018?
Technically, yes, but just because that's kind of one of those action steps that we really would need to have happen in order to put in place some other action steps that was discussed at the during the planning sessions.
Okay. It seems weird to me to have the measure be outside of the time period. Like, we could still do it before that, but it seems like it should be by
Right.
Any other questions? Commissioner Dubug.
Yeah, it looks to me, the majority of these edits look to be just kind of cleaning up language, clarifying goals and timelines and deadlines and accountability.
Right.
Is that accurate?
Yeah,
There's not
yeah.
really been any substantive change to the
No.
actual deliverables of the goals themselves from the original document.
Yeah, the majority of changes were language or refinement of time periods.
Yeah, I think it's
Better
really.
definitions.
The deliverables seem much clearer in this version, so I'll move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Dubak. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Perush. Any discussion? Commissioner Macy.
So I'd like to move for an amendment. Now I've lost it. In Goal 1, Objective 2, address critical infrastructure needs. First of all, we have two number 3s, so one of them should be number 4. But also I'd like to add to install wireless service in the senior center. And I'm open to discussion of the date. I will propose by the end of calendar year 2018.
Commissioner Macy, can you repeat where you were seeing that?
So I'm just under infrastructure, so
Okay,
goal
I thought-
1, infrastructure.
I thought
And
you
then
said objective
objective 2 is address critical infrastructure needs. And I'm trying to add a number 5, I suppose, that would be adding wireless to the senior center.
Support.
Okay. We have a amendment to the motion as articulated by Commissioner Macy. Is there discussion? Commissioner Lavasser.
Just clarify, we're basically providing for Wi-Fi at the senior center. Is that the objective?
Yup.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment to add this to the strategic goals.
And to fix the typo with the two number 3s.
Oh, and to fix the typo for the two number 3s. All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Okay. Well, we have Wi-Fi as part of the goal now, and we have a number 4 as opposed to two number 3s. So now we have the original motion back on the table, which is to approve the strategic plan. Any other discussion on this one? Commissioner Lavasser.
We spent quite a bit of time meeting and discussing these. These are essentially the objectives, goals, the top priorities that the city commission believes that the city should pursue. Unfortunately, there's a couple items here which are high priorities for other commissioners that are not my high priority. Number 1, complete the Civic Center project, which I do not believe is in the best interest of the city. We're moving forward. You know, my 2 cents worth at this point is not going to change that, but that's certainly not my goal, my objective. Number 2, it's referenced here, a very high priority of placing a sidewalk funding millage on the November ballot. We do need to change the way we fund sidewalks. I would like us to pursue finding savings in other aspects of the budget. You know, that's why when we voted on hiring the PR firm earlier for $75,000, you need to start somewhere to find savings so that you don't always go to the voters asking for more millages for basic services. So finding an alternate funding source for sidewalks, yes. Putting a special millage on the ballot for November, no, I can't support that.
Any other discussion? I'll just add that, you know, these objectives, at least for me, are all of them perfect? No, but they're not my objectives, they're our objectives, right? And they represent what each of us brings to this table for the people that we represent, the viewpoints that we represent. And it actually is a plan that is ripe with compromise and discussion, and, you know, we don't get everything we want, but we also don't get everything we don't want. So in this particular case, where I'm not excited about every objective in here, it's a good plan that this commission, with so many different backgrounds and perceptions and views on the world, could come together and give our staff direction. And I believe it represents the priorities of the community. Maybe not my personal priorities, but the priorities of a majority of people in this community. So I'm going to be supporting it without objection. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion passes. We have a strategic plan for next year. Okay, that brings us to item number 11, which is discuss the scheduled public hearing regarding Lockhart's Barbecue.
Actually, I know Commissioner Dubuck added this, but I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Gillum.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for adding this to the agenda tonight, too. Last Monday evening, the commission scheduled a special meeting for next Wednesday for March 28th to review a staff recommendation that the city potentially file an objection to the renewal of the Class C liquor license for Lockhart's Barbecue for 2018-2019. The basis for the recommendation from staff had not to do with the operation of the business itself. The police department has absolutely no objection to the way the business is run over there. There were no issues with, from a building or fire department perspective. However, there was an issue, and continues to be an issue with zoning compliance over there, specifically with the special land use approval and the site plan approval that are on file with the city for the business. Specifically, the issues had to do with the installation of some bollards and some chain, essentially as a barrier or a fence, if you will, along the south side of the parking lot over at the property. Again, the hearing was scheduled for next week to potentially address that issue. There has been quite a bit of discussion internally since that meeting was scheduled. I believe the chain fence, the chain portion of the obstruction was removed as soon as last Tuesday, I believe. Not Tuesday, it was Wednesday. In addition to that, I was contacted on Thursday initially by the attorneys for the actual property owner, keeping in mind that Lockhart's is a tenant in the building, but not the owner of the building. Contacted by the attorneys for the building owner, Shannon Investments. I had several conversations on Friday with the attorneys explaining what the city's position was and the kind of things the city was looking for to potentially remedy the situation. Based upon those discussions, we have potentially reached an agreement to resolve the issue. The attorneys for the property owner have committed to me in writing by email today to remove the bollards from the parking by a week from tomorrow. That is by the close of business on the date before the scheduled hearing. If the bollards are removed, the property would then be in full compliance with the approved special land use and site plan for the property. Again, given that we have no other operations from a staff standpoint with the operation of the business, if the property can be brought into compliance from a zoning standpoint, the staff would no longer be recommending that the commission consider objecting to the renewal of the liquor license. So at this point in time, what I am doing is making a recommendation to the commission that you take another look at the action that you took last week to schedule that hearing based upon what's developed in the meantime. As the mayor indicated, I did send all of you an email today. You have a copy of it at the table. Included in the email that I provided to you is a recommendation that would cancel that special meeting next week upon the condition that the bollards are in fact removed by the close of business the day before. So, in other words, if the bollards are gone, if the property is in full compliance with the special land use and the site plan approval, there'll be no need for a meeting. There'll be no recommendation from the city that would be sent to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission to not renew the liquor license. Without that recommendation from the city, then the MLCC will, as a matter of standard practice, go ahead and renew the license for next year. On the other hand, if for some reason the bollards are not removed in a timely fashion consistent with the agreement that I have with the attorneys for the property owner, as if they're not removed by the close of business next Tuesday, we're still in a position where we can proceed with the hearing on Wednesday and go ahead, and if the commission sees fit, to go ahead and offer the recommendation for non-renewal to the city commission. Personally, I don't expect that to be an issue or a problem. Again, I had several lengthy discussions with the attorneys last Friday, traded some emails with them again today. I'm comfortable with the indication they've given to me that the problem will be taken care of. But if it's not, we're still in a position where we can move forward. But again, I would recommend approval of the resolution that I've provided in the email today, which again would cancel that hearing on the 28th, the special meeting on the 28th, upon the condition that the property is brought into full zoning compliance by the close of business on the day before. If you have any questions, I could try to answer them. I know Mr. Ciora, who's the licensee, is here in the audience if you have specific questions for him, but I would indicate that at the same time, I've been dealing with the attorneys for the landlord, and that with Mr. Ciora, because again, this isn't an operational issue, it's a zoning compliance issue, more than an issue that he's directly been involved in. But if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Gillen? Commissioner Perush.
First of all, none of us have any problems with the operation of law carts. We've never, ever expressed any discomfort at all. You've got a great operation. We all eat there probably much too frequently. But in terms of the actual bollards and the removal of them, are you comfortable that 3 days after the cancellation of this hearing, the bollards aren't going to go back up? Do you have any assurance from the property owner that this is just not we're just going to get past the end of the month and then we might put them back up? Is there anything in that agreement that they've given to you that says, you know, we're going to settle this with the adjacent property owner in some way, but we're not going to put the bollards back up after this is passed?
There's nothing specifically spelled out in the email. The conversations I've had with them, they've indicated to me, for better or worse, that the reason that the bollards and the chain were installed in the first place was to try to deal with an issue that they had with a property owner to the south, involving vehicles from that property encroaching into their property, into their parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's an issue or not, from our standpoint, the bottom line is that what they put up is not consistent with the approved documents that the city has on file. Based upon some earlier correspondence that the attorneys for the property owner had sent to the planning department actually is planning, no pun intended, for the planning commission to conduct a hearing on a request to amend the special land use and the site plan to allow for the bollards and the chain to remain. That's on track for the planning commission meeting on April 10th. But what the attorneys for the property owner have indicated to me is they don't want to proceed with that. Even under the best circumstances, they don't want to have the bollard and the chain in place out there. From their perspective, they have issues with the property owner to the south. They will deal with those issues in a different fashion. They do not want to be able to leave the bollard and the chains up. So as part of this agreement or this understanding, if you will, once the bollards and the chains are removed, then that request for action in front of the Planning Commission will be withdrawn, and that part of the Planning Commission agenda on April 10th will also be canceled. So I guess that's a long answer to your question. No, they haven't given me any guarantees, but what they've indicated to me in no uncertain terms is that they have no interest in having the bollards and the chains remain in place. They're going to deal with the situation in different ways. I'm comfortable with that. Again, and if for some reason the bollard and the chains remain, then the city's still in a position to go ahead and start issuing citations to the property owner potentially every single day if we need to. And the citations that have already been issued up to this date, and there's 7 in total, those are scheduled for hearing next month in the district court. And we're not doing anything to cancel those hearings or postpone those hearings at this point in time.
Okay, I guess I'm comfortable with that, and I too know that your remedy is if the bollards go back up, you start the serial citation process all over again. But since they've effectively ignored the 7 that were issued before, my concern was, all right, you know, we give them 20 and they're going to ignore those as well. I know that getting up to the district court level is the second level of remedy, that they can't ignore them when they're in front of one of the district court judges. But on the other hand, you know, I'm just nervous that to the extent that this is, you know, a feud, so to speak, between 2 property owners, that it's escalated to the point where they've kind of lost track of reason here, and they're not really willing to do anything that's reasonable to get this resolved. It sounds like, in terms of your discussions with the attorneys, that cooler heads are prevailing, and perhaps, the attorneys are forcing them into some kind of a solution that will work for both of them. So I guess we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed that in fact will work out.
A couple comments, if I could. First of all, again, I'm comfortable with the conversations that I've had with the attorneys for the property owner. I've had other matters with that law firm in the past, on city issues, in fact. And those discussions have always been productive and positive. And given the written assurances that they've given to me in this instance, I'm comfortable with those assurances.
Okay.
From that firm in this particular case.
Okay.
So, as an additional comment too, if, for example, and again, I don't think it's gonna happen, but if on April 1st, the bollards and the chain went back up, the other remedy we have, or would have, that we haven't really explored, because I didn't think at the time that it was efficient from a time standpoint, or necessarily even from a cost standpoint, but apart from the enforcement action that we can take in the district court, we can also file an action in the circuit court for noncompliance with the zoning ordinance on a nuisance theory. That would basically be a civil lawsuit that we could file. And then the argument that we would be making to the circuit court judge would be that the existence of the bollards and the chain in this location is a violation of the zoning ordinance, and the circuit court should enter an order that would prohibit the building order and or the licensee from having those in place. That would be above and beyond, or in addition to, the request that we can request from the relief we can request from the district court judge, if the judge rules that those are in fact a zoning violation in the contested hearings across the street.
Okay, all right.
So we've got some other tools in the toolbox, but
Yeah,
we've been
yeah.
trying to work through this situation
Without bringing
because
out-
we don't have major
yeah.
problems with the operator per se.
Okay. Okay, that's it, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Lavasser.
I'm going to move adoption of the resolution that Mr. Gillum has recommended to us. Given that it was not part of the agenda and it has not been available to the public, I'm going to take 45 seconds just to read it so that people can hear it and know what it says. Be it resolved that the special city commission meeting scheduled for Wednesday, March 28, 2018, to determine whether the city commission should object to the renewal of the Class C liquor license for Lockhart's Barbecue LLC doing business as Lockhart's Barbecue is hereby canceled on the condition that the property at 202 East 3rd Street is brought into compliance with the special land use permit and approved site plan for Lockhart's Barbecue by removing the bollards and chain installed along the south end of the parking lot on or before March 27, 2018.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lavasser. Is there a
Second
second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gibbs. Okay, discussion? Okay, I don't see any discussion. I'll just say that, I talked to Mr. Ciora on Friday. We had a healthy conversation, and, I'm glad to see we're getting to resolution here. Unfortunately, both the city and Mr. Ciora are put into an uncomfortable situation about how to react, what to do. But the other third party in this looks like they've agreed to do something that remedies the situation, puts them into compliance with our zoning ordinance, and doesn't continue to put Mr. Ciora at risk or the city in an awkward position of having to enforce our laws on a otherwise decent operator. So I'll be supporting this, and I look forward to, if there is a desire to put the bollards and chains back up, that, they know we have a planning commission, that they have to go through the process to get that done, and so it sounds like we're all lined up here. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you for adding that tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum, for your work on that as well. I know it took a few extra hours for you on Friday. You made it happen.
That's what we're here for.
All right, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Unless there is any other business for the benefit of our residents, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Lavasser.
I'll move to adjourn, but I'm going to take 15 seconds just to respond to an inquiry during public comments. People were asking about the status of the senior task force. The appointments committee, which currently consists of Commissioners Macy, myself, and Mayor Pro Tem Douglas. We talked about scheduling a meeting to discuss the appointments. It looks like March 29th is probably going to be the date, and I expect that we're going to be formalizing that here in the next couple days and having it posted to the website.
And you move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner DeLavasser. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Dubak. Any discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned.